Good evening. I'm very excited to have the lovely Louise with me. Hi, Louise. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so hello everybody. I am Louise Mumford. I am from South Wales, in case you can't tell from my accent. I always think I'm quite posh, but everyone always says that they can hear the Welsh in my accent quite easily. So I started writing around lockdown. Well, I got published. My first book was published in lockdown. I write thrillers. They are generally psychological thrillers. And my latest one is called The Festival, which is set in a Glastonbury type festival in Britain. And I am now on my, what did I say I was on? I was on my fourth novel, yes. So the previous three are all very similar. They're usually based in some sort of dark and slightly scary location. And I check some characters in there and it all goes horribly wrong from that point.
And I have just finished reading it, and it's awesome. I got 5 stars and maybe a gasp out loud, which tells you everything. It's awesome. So everybody should read it.
Thank you. I'm very pleased with the gasp. That's brilliant. I love it when I can do that. That's amazing.
I remember the bit as well. I'm just like, so the very beginning, what made you decide, okay, today's the day I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write that book?
So it's two things. It's so what your publisher does when you've got a 2-book contract, which is what I had there. So I had one 2-book contract and then the second one. And your publisher goes to you almost straight after you've delivered, but one book. They go, so what's your next book going to be about? And you think, I don't know what my next book's going to be about. So what I did is I kind of cast around for what would be a really good location. And I thought to myself, well, I've always, and I still have, a deep hatred and fear for big outdoor music festivals. I don't quite get the point of them. Well, I get the point of them. It's a lot of people going to see fantastic bands, yes, but there's also portaloos involved and camping. I'm not a fan of camping. There is a reason why people put beds on legs, and there's a reason why we have walls and a roof. So all of that, and also just the crowds as well. I think since lockdown, I have not struggled, but I've always been more conscious when there's lots and lots of people around me, and how quickly crowds can turn from benign and enjoying themselves to, something that is more frightening. In fact, there's a film, isn't there, which is coming out. There's a new horror film called Trap, which is set in a pop concert. And it's this idea of them all being in this venue and kind of stuck. And so I thought, well, that would be a brilliant location. And I didn't want it to be, there's that festival, wasn't there, which they were going to do on an island, a lovely idyllic island, and it all fell horribly apart because they hadn't planned anything, basically. They got all these influencers to get to this island and then there was nothing there. But I didn't want it to be like exotic like that. I wanted it to be a very British festival, because then you can have the brilliant British weather, which is always, we were just talking about this, which is always either boiling hot or tipping down with rain. It's never kind of just mild and pleasant. No. So that was really why I wanted to do the festival. And then I watched a brilliant documentary, which is on Netflix still, and it's called Trainwreck it's called, but it's about Woodstock 99. So it was the second version of Woodstock. You had the lovely Woodstock festival, hippies, peace, love, understanding, all that kind of thing. They decided to do it in 1999 and do like another one with the same guy who founded the original one. He came back to do it, but they decided to put it in an abandoned military airbase during a massive heat wave in America. They didn't have enough food or drink, and they had loads of bands which had very young male audiences. So you had this testosterone heavy, dehydrated audience. And then at the end, they gave them actual lit candles to do a like lovely, swaying candle moment. And these kids just burned down the festival, basically, is what they did. They just ran amok. So I recommend that documentary. It's really, really good on Netflix. It's called Trainwreck. And so I thought, well, that just seems perfect to me.
Yeah. Yeah, candles and young men. Yeah, that's only going to end one month, isn't it?
And the thing was, they'd seen how horrible it had got, it got really bad by that point, and they still gave the candles out. It's just, don't give the candles to these kids.
I must admit, at the beginning when I was reading the festival, I was like, "Oh, this sounds great! Like, I'd love to go." And then, obviously, as it went on, I'm like, yeah. Like that. It did. And the way you described it was brilliant. And like the food trucks and the different types of food and the lights, it sounded awesome. It really did. And then, yeah, and then later on, like, no, it's fine. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun making my festival though. That was great fun because I had like the two different stages, which I think is from a little bit from Glastonbury when they started off before they had lots of different stages. They had the two. And then I got to do the little wood bit where all the acrobats and the kind of, kind of more atmospheric stuff went on. I had great stuff. It was just such good fun designing a festival. I didn't want to go, but I had a lot of fun designing it and doing all of that side. Yeah.
Why did you choose the solstice as well? And like, obviously, I mean, that gave you like the sun and the moon, which was wicked, like such a brilliant idea. But around the solstice as well was brilliant.
Yeah, it's because I've got a slightly Beyonce moment going on because I've got a fan aimed right at my face and occasionally a bit of hair goes in my eye, which is why I'm constantly doing that. Um what was I saying? Oh, solstice, that was it, yes. So I loved the idea of doing the longest day, and then you've got like the shortest night and that celebration of it. But I also like the idea that you've got a standing stone circle in the book, which is kind of part of the festival. There's a like little exclusive bit around this standing stone circle, and I love all the stories that are attached to these places. So they're always like witches or wizards that have turned to stone, and they'll leap back to life at certain times. And it's often around solstice when they do. It's this kind of magical time, isn't it, where the sunlight wins for a little bit. And in Britain, the sunlight really wins. So this is a kind of a very special day, because you've got this lovely celebration of light. And I wanted to then, that's just symbolically brilliant because you've got this fantastic celebration of light and all of these horrible dark things happening with all the characters and all their different motivations.
Yeah, it was interesting how you explored the sort of mother-daughter relationship as well. That was it. I mean, obviously it was quite hard with Libby, it was, and then
Yeah.
Laura and her two sons as well, and how different she is with them. So that was quite fun to read as well.
Yeah, Mar Blake in particular, she was just, I mean, she just kind of popped into my head fully formed, this kind of, she is like a powerhouse of a woman. She desperately tries to cling on to her farm, and in doing so, they then create this festival to bring in money, and then the festival kind of becomes so big, it gets out of, well, many things get out of Mars control, and just her way of still trying to cling on to the bits that she can still try to claw back and get control over. She was just a great character because in her head she would think to herself that she's probably, until the very end, she would think to herself that she's done the very best job that she can as a mum, as the owner of the farm. She's done everything that she can, and I think that's how many of us kind of delude ourselves, don't we? We think to ourselves, oh yeah, we couldn't have done anything else. This is exactly what we would have done. And then it's only at the very end that she realizes, actually, no, she's made lots of mistakes.
Yeah, she's probably one of the most complex, actually, isn't she? She goes through lots of different things, bless her. So you put her through it.
I do, yes, I do like to do that to my characters.
Yeah, bless her. Sitting there with her, stroking her jaw.
Yes, the old jar. Yeah, and those jars came to me as well. I must have read about them somewhere. The witches' jars. So if you don't know what a witch's jar is, you often find them in the fireplaces of farmhouses, bigger houses, and they often have a little face on them, a ceramic jar, and you would create a spell of some sort. So it's often if you thought a witch had cursed you, you would create one of these witches' jars and it would repel the curse. But in it, you've got to put such horrible things in it. It's like bits of hair. You've got to get some teeth, some fingernails, you know, all that. It's just grim. Yeah. So these little witches' jars, I did love researching that as well.
Yeah, I bet. Did you have to do a lot of research? Obviously, you've done research into the festivals, but I guess all the folklore sort of stuff you would have had to.
Yeah, I've got a friend who loves to go around a standing stone circle wherever we are. She'll try and find one. So I've been to a lot of standing stone circles. So I knew quite a lot about those. Avebury is a brilliant one if you've been to Avebury, because it's the village is in the massive stone circle there. Yeah, and I think it's the only pub or something that's in a stone circle. It's a great place to go if you get to go there. A lot of it though, the stones were, I think they were originally kind of there, but they were re-erected in the 30s. So they're not exactly, you know, the original ones. But they are pretty much the original ones. So I loved all of that, and I kind of knew that anyway. I did have to do a bit of research into what goes on kind of behind the scenes in Glastonbury and places like that, because obviously we all see the crowds and the lovely stages, and it's like, well, how does everything else kind of work around it? And then yeah, it was just bits of folklore like the witch's jar and all that. So, but I love doing all of that anyway. You know, it's just fun to find out things like that, isn't it?
Rabbit holes and stuff as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So what comes first for you when you write a book? Is it the spark of an idea, or is it a character or a location?
I think for this one, it was definitely the location. It was getting to make my own festival. But then you start to think, you know, if the idea is going to work for me, the character who's going to go to this festival pops up quite quickly. I think if I'd struggled to find a character, I would have kind of parked that location and done something else. So Libby came to me first, but then Dawn came quite quickly. So you've got Libby and Dawn, who are the two, they're in their 20s, they are 20. And Libby is kind of shy and quiet, and she spent all of her time looking after her mum, who has just recently died. So she's kind of had a stunted young adulthood. She hasn't really got to do what all the other young people have done. And then you've got Dawn, who has got to do what all the young people have done. She's very confident. She's very confrontational, but she's also fiercely loyal to Libby. They've got a real strong relationship. So the two of them kind of came to me together because they're like two halves of a coin that you want to put together. And I wanted in particular to do a female friendship where the plot wasn't that one of them had betrayed the other in some way. Female friendships are often portrayed as toxic in a lot of not just crime and thriller, but generally in literature and entertainment, women are pitted against each other. And I wanted these two women, it's never, you know, there's no spoilers here. It's never going to be that Dawn or Libby have done anything to hurt each other. They are going to combine forces to get through the other chaos that's happening around them. So that was nice that I got to portray such a lovely, strong friendship, because I think female friendships are often some of the most important during your life. And often they're formative, you know, they help form the person that you become when you find your friends in your 20s and you kind of grow together.
Yeah, it is. And you know, obviously right to the end, they are both completely loyal to each other. You know, that at no point does one waver, and I love that. Because like you say, they are often portrayed. I didn't even think about that, and I was thinking about my book. I'm like, no, actually, I think the females in my book are quite loyal. I don't think they're really against each other. I was thinking, do I do that? I don't think I do, because you know, female friendships aren't usually that bad. Yeah, you have the odd time where you have like one that's completely mental, but generally they are the strongest bonds. So yeah, it was. I love that. I must admit, to you know, the very end.
Yeah. So it's then so brilliant when Dawn goes missing halfway, which again isn't really giving anything away. Dawn goes missing about halfway through, that's such a brilliant moment for Libby, because she's got to then work out who she is without Dawn, because she's got to work out how she reacts to stuff and does stuff and survives things in order to find Dawn. So it's actually then forcing Libby to kind of grow up a little bit more.
Yeah, and also she's like, well, Dawn would look for me. You know, she's like, she knows that at no point would Dawn abandon her. So she's like, I've got to step up now. I've got to become the confident person in some ways that she is, so I can find her. So yeah. Yeah. What else was I gonna? Oh, we were talking before about names. So how do you choose your character names?
They kind of, generally, they often come with their name, or a name that's pretty close to the one that they end up getting. So Libby was always Libby, Dawn was always Dawn, and then you had like Ma Blake, who just popped up as Ma Blake. She wants to be known as this matriarchal character. She was Ma Blake when she was in her 20s. You know, she wanted to be a figure of authority. So that was quite interesting, because she came to me with this name and I was like, well, was she always called Ma Blake? Surely she's got another name. And then she's like, well, no, I always want to be Ma Blake. So the names are really good fun, and I do often think about them quite carefully, because sometimes the names kind of the names to me are important to the characters. If I feel like I've got the name wrong in some way when I'm writing, I will change it. And you kind of know when you're writing the character if their name is wrong. For example, in what was it, Sleepless. So Vivian is the mum in Sleepless, and she's this really very powerful kind of dominant woman, and her original name was something, I can't remember what it was, but it didn't scream to me kind of strong. You know, Vivian is a strong sounding, you know, you've got those V sounds. It's a very strong sounding name, and it was something else, and I changed it, and as soon as she became Vivian, all the bits kind of snapped into place then, and she felt like a whole character.
If you ever had to push back on your publishers about names, have they ever suggested changes, or have they always stuck with your choices?
Some of my character names, I think in Sleepless originally, were a little bit out there, and I do remember my editor saying, can't we just have a couple of, you know, like Mikes and, you know, Sams, just names that readers know how to pronounce. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I do love an unusual name, but I also am, because I read somewhere that if you have lots of character names with the same initial, it's confusing for dyslexic readers in particular. It's hard to differentiate. So I do try to not just have similar sounding names or names that begin with the same letter, just to make it easier for the reader as well.
I wonder, I knew that about, you know, I mean, you know, as a reader, yeah, sometimes if they're too close, then you do get confused. But I didn't think about dyslexics, but yeah, that makes perfect sense actually.
Yeah, I read that and I was like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. I should have, as putting my teacher hat on, I should have realized that. But it's that similar just start of it, and it just throws their brain a little bit. Yeah.
And from a personal point of view, titles, how do you come up with titles, or do publishers choose them?
The publisher has definitely the final say on titles. All of the titles, apart from the Safe House, were ones that I came up with. It was what it was called straight away. The Safe House started off as something else, and I can't even remember what that was. Oh, Breathless, that's what it was originally. It was going to be like Sleepless, Breathless, but there was another Breathless book coming out at that time, and also it made it sound a little bit like erotic fiction, so I kind of parked Breathless, and so then my publisher came up with the Safe House, which I have never been massively keen on, but and then my suggestion was, because it's about a young woman who's got asthma, and she and her mother live in a climate controlled house, because the air outside is too polluted for Esther, the main character, to breathe easily. So it's very much, again, about a very overbearing mother-daughter relationship. The mother is very in control of her daughter. And so I wanted to call the book Smother, which I thought was quite a good title, but my publisher wasn't having that either. So we stuck with the Safe House, which is fine. I don't mind that one, but it made me think of like when you put not criminals, witness protection. That's what it made me think of, because they go to a safe house, don't they? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, basically you don't have the final say. Your publisher will choose.
Yeah, I mean, they stuck with my first title, but I didn't choose it. My friend did, because I'm like, I don't know. And now I've written like 86,000 words, and it's called book 2. I have no idea. I literally have no clue. Titles are not my thing. I don't think the fine, but give me a title, please. Someone,
Yeah.
just tell me what to call it. I have no idea.
Yeah. I've got writer friends like that who just don't know. They just don't know what the title's going to be. Whereas I always have a title. I've got a title for book 5, which I really like as well. I'll be absolutely gutted if they take that off me. Don't do it. Don't take it off me. I want
it. When you're doing your own editing, or when your editor edits your book, what are your most overused words or phrases?
Oh, I have a deep and abiding love for similes and metaphors, for a start. I love a simile and a metaphor. I cut about 50% of the similes and metaphors that I put in the book. My editor goes, no. What did she write? And I start doing it now. When I'm editing, I put my, I have my editor's voice in my ear going, did you need another simile there? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I just really liked that simile. So it's not necessarily words. I love to do the whole slightly unusual simile. I just love it. But I have reined that back in a bit now, because it is just me and my love of similes and metaphors. Not everyone wants one in every paragraph. You just don't need it.
There's not enough in crime fiction, I don't think. There should be more.
Honestly, I have loads left over. I can hand them out to people. I can be like a simile and metaphor oracle. People can come to me and go, what's something that's like something else in this situation? I'll go, aha, wait, I have this for you, don't worry.
Do you delete them, or do you put them in like a file to use later?
I have kept a simile and metaphor graveyard, like my chapters graveyard, knowing that I will never use them again, probably, because they don't fit in any other scenario. But yeah, it's psychological, isn't it? If you put them in a different chapter, if you put them in a different folder on your laptop, you think, well, they're not gone.
Yeah,
they've just moved to another folder. They're not gone. You can bring them back at any time, and you never do.
I love that. But absolutely, yeah. Deleting is just too final. Like,
yeah. You need to, it's like purgatory, I think, like the idea of you have purgatory before you go anywhere else, that's their purgatory. Yeah.
If you're able to spend a day with any author, dead or alive, who would you like to spend a day with?
That's a good, well, I mean, Oscar Wilde would be pretty fun, wouldn't he? I think he had quite a life, so definitely Oscar Wilde. I love Terry Pratchett's books, the Discworld books. So these are fantasy books, and they're all set on this fantasy world, which is called Discworld, which is an actual disc on the back of 4 elephants on the back of a giant floating turtle, which is floating through space. But it's what his books are. They're fantasy, so they have vampires and like barbarians and all that sort of stuff in them, but they're really, really relatable. He's really talking about our world, but he's just doing it in this fantasy set piece. And I think Terry Pratchett died. He had vascular dementia, early onset. So he died in his mid-60s, I think. And he had so many books still left to write, I'm sure, that I would just love to have been able to spend time with him and ask him about his other stories and the other things that I'm sure he had in his brain that he wanted to talk about, he just couldn't access anymore, which is incredibly sad.
Yeah, it is. And he didn't die that long ago, actually, did he? It's only a few years now, isn't it?
I think it's only been about 6 at most, I would say, and I may be overestimating there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a popular choice, actually. I asked that question quite a lot, and he is a popular choice.
Yeah,
To my shame, I've never read any Terror Pratchett, so I must. But you lot keep bringing out so many books. How have I got a chance? Do you see my list? I've got a list before I even think about my TBR. So yeah.
Oh, you must read some. Reaper Man is really good. It's the one of his character of Death is just hilarious. He speaks in block capitals in the book Death, but he also has a love of curries, and in the end he also has a kitten as well, and the horse that he rides he calls Binky. So he's just this adorable, character. Yeah, it's Death, but it's the most adorable character. It's lovely.
There's like weirdly, I remember at my middle school, one of my English teacher had the Carpet People poster, and I always wanted to read it. I've wanted to read it since I was 8, 9, 10. I don't know how old I was, and yet now in my 40s, I still have not read it. But it's
the Carpet People's brill. I love the Carpet People. Yeah, and it's only little. You can get through it I reckon you could probably get through it in at least 2 hours.
Yeah, I must. I could probably read it at work, actually. I won't tell my boss that, but
No. Anyways, good for you.
I can read between calls, if it gets. She knows anyway, it's fine. I started my job about 3 weeks before my book came out, and she's been brilliant like that. So yeah, it's fine. She's cool.
Yeah. You can't be mad at anyone for reading or writing. It's a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it'll be fine. Yeah, that's my new challenge, and I should try and do that. What's been perhaps not your one highlight, but one of your few highlights of your career so far?
Oh wow. Oh gosh. Oh gosh, that's really hard because there's a lot of really fun stuff that I've got to do. I guess. Oh, so I'm part of a group who put on a crime fiction festival in Wales. So Wales hadn't had a crime fiction festival. And we put one on last year in Aberystwyth, which is on the seafront, which is lovely. The seagulls are quite vicious, but the rest of the seafront is amazing. And we did it in April, so it was actually nice weather, and it wasn't too hot, and it wasn't raining for once. And what I did with my friend is we wrote a murder mystery to be performed on the dinner bit on the Friday evening. And it was performed by the Aberystwyth Wardens. So this kind of, in Aberystwyth, they are like famous. They are the Amdram kings and queens. They do this really fated pantomime every year, and they're just so lovely. And it was just such a massive honor for them for us to write this little play, which was fun. And then to see them perform it and kind of put their own bits to it. And, the guy, there was this death scene in the middle, and his death just got longer and longer each time I saw it. It was just amazing. So getting to work with them, weirdly, it's not even kind of like I guess it's not really a writing thing, is it? Because it's seeing somebody perform your writing. That was something I never thought I'd see. I didn't think I'd see anyone perform something that I'd written, and they did it marvelously, and it was just such great fun. Yeah, it was probably that, I think.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love. I mean, yeah, it's something you wouldn't have done if you hadn't been an author, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So absolutely, that's wicked. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just such a great laugh as well. It was brilliant.
People always ask me this since I started doing Brighton. So is there someone that you want to your festival that you haven't had yet?
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, there are so many people. So it's a crime fiction festival, so I'll stick to crime. Do you know, I've always got a deep and abiding love for Gone Girl, so I'd love to have Gillian Flynn, because I think she is just fantastic. I mean, she set a whole genre within psychological thrillers, didn't she? So it's that would be just brilliant to to see her and to hear her talk. She does a cruise. Have you ever seen? I read this article, and you can, in America, you can go on a cruise with Gillian Flynn. It's a whole cruise ship, and then you have her like reading stuff and signings, and it's all centered around her. I know, and it's just anyway, that blew my
That's
mind.
goals, isn't it? That is future author goals.
Have your own cruise ship is quite good. I think who else would I maybe want? Who would you have then? Who's yours?
Yeah, that's
How would you answer the question? Gillian Flynn. Who else am I thinking of? Whose books have I also read and thought, oh, I really want to.
After earlier, I think would be Chris Carter.
Yes, you said this, didn't you? Yes. I don't know much about, well, I do know more about Chris Carter now, but I definitely want to hear him speak. Yes, that would be one.
And yeah, but I did ask him actually, because I'm not ashamed. Like, I'll ask anyone, I don't care.
Yeah.
But he was really sorry that he couldn't do it. I'm like, so I will, if I do it again, I will keep asking.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely keep
Yeah,
going.
you never know. Yeah, and he seems up for anything anyway. It's fine. So yeah.
Yeah. There's a brilliant writer called Jo Cannon, Dr. Jo Cannon. She did The Trouble with Goats and Sheep, and she did it's a crime one. It's got a crossword on the cover, and I can't think what it's called now.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. And she's great to talk to because she very much has her psychology hat on, so she's really, really good at all of that, and her answers are so thoughtful and so wise. You know, you listen to her and you think, oh, you're so wise. I just want to ask you all the questions, and you can sort my entire life out. And she also has a fantastic dog called Louise, this big Alsatian who's lovely. So yeah, possibly I'd want her as well.
A nice random question for you: if the festivals turn into a TV or film, which character would you play?
Oh, which character would I play? Oh gosh. Oh, well, it can't be somebody 20. I don't think I can stretch to that anymore. I think that would be pushing the casting the casting there. So Libby and Dawn are well out. I think I would make a really good Ma Blake. I think I could access the, you know, darker teacher side of me that has lain dormant for a while. Yeah, I think I would definitely give Ma Blake a go. I think always the more complicated characters are the ones that are probably the best to play, aren't they? Everyone likes somebody who's a bit of a villain.
Absolutely. Although I could see you as the PR lady that does the tour, that takes them.
Oh yes,
you'd be brilliant at doing that.
I've forgotten what her name is now. Gosh,
I can't think. I only finished it yesterday.
I know, I can't think of what her name is. I know the one you mean. Yeah, because she turns up in the car, doesn't she? Later on, it's got eyelashes on it. The car with eyelashes. It's got damn eyelashes on it.
Can't wait to get rid of this bloody car. It's got eyelashes on it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I've no idea what her name is. I'm sure it's Jay, or maybe anyway.
I don't know. It'll come to me when I've finished.
Yeah. You'll suddenly blurt out and your husband will just this is awesome. But well, I can't think of any more questions for you unless you think there's anything really obvious that I haven't asked you that you want to tell us about.
I don't think there's anything really obvious. No. I think we've covered many, many interesting things. So I think we're good. Yeah.
And I can see the cover is behind you, so everyone can see what they can go and buy if they like the sound of it.
Yes, just handily, it's behind me. Hasn't been packed up yet in any house move. This will be the last room to be packed up if we move house. So yes, we've already discussed how traumatizing it is to even think about packing up all of the books.
Yes, yeah, I can't even. Yeah.
Not even thinking
so
about
would you just like to tell everyone where they can buy your books from and where they can find out more about you if they so wish?
Okay, so you can buy my books in ebook, audio and paperback on Amazon and other e-retailers. So you have what is it, Kobo and all that sort of stuff. You can get it on all those things, Apple Books as well. You can, if you want to support an independent bookshop, I have an independent bookshop near me called Griffin Books, who post UK wide, and they have signed copies in stock. I think they're specially stamped, and you get a little keyring with them from Griffin Books as well. I know, so they're brilliant if you want to support an indie bookstore. And if you want to know more about me, because who wouldn't, I have a website which is called louisemumfordauthor.com, and if you sign up to my newsletter, you get a free short story. And I only do newsletters about 4 or 5 times a year because I often forget that I'm meant to do a newsletter and then do one. And then I'm on, you know, the social media side as well, the whatever we're calling Twitter now. You can find me as Louise Mumford or Louise Mumford Author, Facebook and Instagram and Threads, just everywhere, because you don't really know which social media platform is going to collapse at any given moment.
Indeed. And all that's left for me to say thank you.
Thank you.